Hello viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, we're going to talk about myths about cloud storage. So let's dive right into it. Now first, why I'm making this video is basically I made a recent video about optical storage, and I have read a lot of comments were like, oh, I don't have to worry about it because I have my data in cloud or things of that nature. Now that created a very clear picture where I was like, no, way too many people have way too false hope about cloud. So I want to address that. Now this whole video is very simple. Reality is that creates an issue when people have that kind of false belief about some technology. It makes their data not safe, meaning even though in their mindset is like, oh, I don't have to worry about my data because it's safe, it's in cloud, it creates a very serious issue. And if people put their trust in the wrong place, which has happened either by stupidity or just random luck, people are suffering because of that. And I don't mean just like people random Tom Dick and I'm talking big companies to small business to like government corporations, like a very serious issue. And many times because of the ease and the like supposed longevity of the technology, people have forgotten that 3-to-1 rule. You must have 3 copy of your data. You must have 2 different medium, meaning if one of your medium is, let's say, electrical, try to have something that is not electrical. For example, either it could be optical drive or it could be tape drive, but try to have something that is not needed to be connected on electricity in order to store the data. So you must have 3-to-1, and one must be offsite because you live on this earth. You could have bad things happen to you like earthquake, fire, things of that nature. So insufficient knowledge about this sort of server world creates an illusion where they're like, no, these are safe, this is never gonna fail. Like that's not how it works. That insufficient knowledge creates a very serious hazard for people's data. That's why I'm making this whole video. Now one thing you have to understand, the myth, the biggest myth you have to change is that it's not magic, it's not whoa, it's not woohoo, it's just very simple PC that you can't see. And yes, it is a PC, again running on Linux most likely, but it is a PC. At the core of it, it is PC, and there is a very good chance you can just like go into it and like look it up, and you're like, oh, this is the RAM, this is the power supply, this is the CPU, this is this and that. Like you can actually study it. Heck, you may even find Intel processor, you may even find let's say AMD processor. You may find like some rare things that are not available in commercial, basically consumer market, like ARM processors that are from like Amazon itself. Things of that nature could be there, but most of the time if you go into a service center which is carrying your data, you'll be like, I know what this is. So you have to understand, it's not magic, it's just a more refined, more fine-tuned, more purpose-built equipment. But it's not magic, it's not like hulululu completely above from us. It's like, it's just the same goddamn thing. It's like the same way you have a NAS there, same NAS is in the basically server, only much more beefed up. So this is one thing, and it has same risk as PC, or if not more risk. So you have to understand the risk. The same thing you think about like when you're talking about NAS. For example, many people who take their data seriously, very seriously, they will never have 2 NAS running at the same time. They're like, one NAS, it will turn on, that taking the data, whole data is there, but another NAS will be used through a relay switch where it's like it cannot be hacked, cannot be hijacked. It's like second NAS is completely detached, and then it's like, okay, that data is done. At night they will switch it off, another system will come online, and here's the, if ransomware goes to one, it will only get stuck to one because electrically the another one is disconnected. So you have to, that same issues happen on these sort of thing. And like again, company do their best to make sure this sort of equipment never gets down, quote unquote downtime, but things happen. And if you have been watching any sort of news, you know these sort of things happen way too goddamn often. And that's the reality of it. Blind trust leads to permanent data loss. Again, you think of this way, like when you are talking about data loss, it's just like, okay, you may have some steps. If you have accidentally deleted the data and you have not done anything, let's say you deleted a file from your computer and you have not done anything, all you have done is like damage the index. Again, it can be rebuilt, you can try to recover the data, but again, it's not yours when you're talking about server system. So that creates a permanent data loss issue where you're like, poof, data is gone. If something bad happens to them and if you do not have followed the 3-to-1 protocol, the end, data permanently gone. And some data are like very emotional, very personal. You do want to keep them intact. So that is one thing you have to understand. This blind trust of this magical technology is not there, and you are hoping to God they are paying their people well. Basically they have a lot of paid people dealing with it. For example, you are hoping that you will not have a network admin who is doing things like this, because you may be like, okay, what's the risk in that? Well, again, you may have disconnection, you may have a scenario where you're backing up very important file and this fiber is like holding on to its dear life, and it click, Yep, data backup on a very important time went poof. And again, fires have caused this sort of issue, does cause interference, does cause data corruption. It has happened. That's why, like, even big companies, like, you may think like, oh, Google will never have that, Amazon will never have that. You still scout the Reddit, and they're like, this sort of thing happens there also. Only difference is they do their best to mitigate it as quickly as possible. It's like if they are building a setup, they will try their best to not have it, but sooner or later it becomes like this. They will pay someone to like sort it out. And again, I'm talking about some big companies. What about the small companies? What if that's how they are running? What if they are one bad day away from turning into smoldering ash? This is one thing you have to understand. It's not some magical technology. It's just a goddamn computer that you cannot see. You have to understand that. And you are hoping that they are paying their employee well. Because one bad employee, one bucket of water equals poof. So you have to understand that. And because of the ease of use, there is user, meaning user risk. The biggest risk is like what is the primary reason why people lose their data is the goddamn delete function. We delete our data. It happens. Things of this nature happens, and because you do not have access to the hardware, like for example, you deleted some file in your hardware, you can pull the hard disk out, try to do data recovery, or send it to someone to do it. You can't do that when you are dealing with a server. And again, that's why almost all data company are like, hey, we know most people delete their file for stupid reasons, and then they cry about it. We will give you 30 days grace period where they're gonna keep that file. But again, have you read the terms and condition of that grace period? Because they could have a scenario. It's like, hey, let's say you were allotted 1 terabyte and your deleted data is like 500 half terabyte, but let's say your empty space is not half terabyte. Again, they might delete it. So you have to understand, read through the terms and condition. And because you do not have hardware access, that data is actually, that in deleting the index might as well be data went poof, simply because they may have shared the same hardware with other clients also. So good luck with that. So this is one of those things that you have to understand. Your data is vulnerable to you. It's not a worm media. It's not like a disk or even a tape, because tape you generally pull it out from the drive once it's done written. So like unlikely, you can't be like, oops, I deleted it. That's not gonna happen on tape. And optical drive, yeah, you physically cannot do that. So that's the one thing you have to understand. You are still vulnerable to that. And another aspect, you're like, I have like 2 cloud servers, I'm paying them. That creates another fall issue where you have to pay them regularly for years. For let's say data is like, my data is only valuable to me for my lifespan. Let's say I live very short lifespan, 70 to 120, like that's the expected lifespan of human. Again, that means you have to be damn sure that you're never gonna miss a payment for like 50-60 years or 70 years. Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Because even your cards, you may be like, hey, I have this card, I'm gonna do that. Here's the, that card also has an expiry date. And now I'm getting old enough that my very early cards, yeah, now they're expiring. And again, you may not update your card details on your service provider. And again, it's not the fault of the service provider. It's like, dude, you did not pay me. Your data went poof, not my issue. And again, they are justified in that. Again, you have to read the terms and conditions. Some company knows for a fact that like, oops, happened, or some company will call you and it's like, hey bro, your data is in danger, bro, like you deal with this. So you have to understand, like, one false payment. And again, another aspect is like, what if your card had like life for let's say 10 years, the card is gonna expire in 10 years, but your mobile number changed in like 8th year. How the heck that company, even if they wanted to contact you, they could not contact you? So that's why that creates another fall point, that one failed payment equal poof. And you're not gonna be like a IBM or HP where they have like people on top of people with some more people whose like whole sole job is like just to make sure that data history is maintained. They're never gonna like, hey, do we put like 10 terabytes of data here, like let's double check that. You're not gonna do that. So that's the whole thing. One missed payment could literally translate to your data was never here. We don't know what you're talking about. And these are the user risks. These are absolute concrete. And the longer time span you talk about, the more important these part becomes. Because all you have to do, one missed payment. And let's talk about security, or the lack of it, or the illusion of it. You're just hoping for it. Let's be real. Every time when you're talking about like, I'm gonna put my file into a server, you're just hoping that it's secure. Reality is it's not. Apple has cracks. Canon has cracks. And that's the whole point. They all have lost data. And you have to understand, there are many leak points of your user ID and password. And even if you don't have that, just some other secondary data hack, like what's your birth date or things of that nature, which can be used to crack your password and all that jazz. Again, that could also like randomly cause your system to leak. And again, a company may simply blame you, but again, it may have a fault of the basically hardware they were using. For example, they may be using Intel processor, and that may have zombie load, RIDL or Fallout or Spectre or whatever have you, and these are hardware level issues. So it took a very long time to patch. During that time they were vulnerable, and again, you are assuming that when company figured it out, that was the instant they started to react to it. Again, if there were a company were like even 1 month delay, and let's say hacker figured it out, it's like, whoa, like there is this giant gaping hole in the security system. They're like, how about I go inside, and how about I take the file and I go bye bye? What are you gonna do? And this has happened. I'm not talking about something made up. I'm not talking about something that could happen. All these ladies, all of them using Apple, all have that illusion of like Apple secure. All of their personal photos, like, and I mean seriously personal photos which should not have been leaked, have been leaked. People have this illusion of Apple is secure. I'm like, no, Apple is the worst for security simply because of its popularity. You never want popular things because it's never secure, because by default it's like, what does hacker do in order to, like, get graduated to pro hacker level? Hack an Apple device. That's all they do, because they know for a fact that if they crack it, millions of users. You want to use some goddamn random device, you are more secure than that. But again, in itself, the security level may be very weak. But the fact that, like, even a hacker looks at it, it's like he has to think about it. It's like, dude, what processor it is? Exynos what? Exynos 7. Do we have any security exploit? It's not as popular. So you have to understand that security through obscurity is a very real thing, and many companies do serious effort to actually achieve that. Not Apple. Apple is like, it's like, tada, we are Apple, we are here. And many companies have actual hardware that can crack it on a hardware level, because I specified hardware level issues cannot be fixed. So this is one thing you have to understand. Services have leaked your data. Most likely your data has already been leaked. And again, recently I received an email that, like, my password has been compromised. And you may notice that there are a lot of services that are coming online that's like, no, your ID password, we'll keep checking it in the dark web. That's how common it is to lose your ID and password. And company will always blame you, even though their multi-factor sector failed. The company should never have a scenario where it's like, oh, somebody can brute force your password. It's like, why should not? Well, think of this way, like, how many times you can type a wrong password before it locks you out? It's like 5, maybe 25. How the heck hackers can somehow go inside a server and it's like, I'm gonna try thousands of times. Again, it was faulted there, but they will blame you because they're like, oh, dude, you use easy passwords. It's like, dude, how about the locking mechanism that annoys the hell out of me works for hackers also? But it does not. How about the system that you utilize? Even with a dual factor system, it checks which devices are doing the dual factor. Am I using the same mobile phone? What was the last known mobile device? Like, if mobile knows that, like, hey, I detected the mobile phone in an airport, I detected it's going from here to here, so I know for a fact that it's here. But again, it's randomly, it's like I went from, let's say, Calcutta to Delhi, and randomly it's detecting my ping is coming from Russia. It's like, oh, whoa. These are factors. These have been used to stop low-level hackers. But again, high-level hackers just bypass it. It's like, how about I go behind this? So that's the whole thing. Security is just an illusion. And if you have recently looked into, like, security data breaches, ransomware attacks, and I have provided an amazing video down below of a spicy gentleman who have some spice in his word, like how badly big companies are falling because the ransomware people are getting smarter. There are, other than attacking companies like Google, Apple, or Amazon, they are attacking the people who are providing the tools to these companies. So one attack is directly translated, oh yeah, with the whole government sector, yeah, we got that. Whole government. Unless, like, you're talking about army sector, it's like whole government. They're like, we got this, fam, don't worry about it. We got this. Because they hack the tool that makes the other tools that other people are using. So one breach point, and they're like, yep, 80% of the in core infrastructure, which is like very important, your medical data to your insurance data, poof. So this is one thing you have to understand. Security illusion of cloud is just that, illusion. Like, you are hoping for it at best case scenario, and these women learn the hard way. It's not very realistic. Now, what about longevity? This is another aspect. Even if you, let's say, have a family photos, which is like, even if it leaks out, or even if somebody, like, toys around, it's like, it's not that big of a deal. Again, I get that. But you have to understand that cloud means it needs money and resources to run, which means if they are built in a country, and let's say country economic collapse, poof, things of this nature has happened because economic landscape can change. In the early 2010s, a lot of cloud providers started to come on cloud storage services. That was a big lucrative market. Some company became successful. Yes, they also went bankrupt. And your data? What data? We never heard about it. And it's like some company that were like good company that tried their best. It's like, okay, we're gonna do our best to like give you 10 days to back up all your data, but here's the at 10 days, think of it this way. Let's say the server was like 1 petabyte, like back in the day, 1 petabyte. Every Tom, Dick and Harry is trying to recover that file. Good luck with that. So things of this way has happened. We have learned it the hard way that clouds are not long-term system. It's not something you put and forget. It's very short-term. Like if you're lucky, 5 to 10 years, 20, 30, 50, or a human lifespan, yeah, good luck with that, because economic landscape will change and cloud will become too expensive. Now you're like, how can I be damn sure about that? Well, physics. Like this is one thing I was specifying. It's about physics, not hoo-ha, not my blah blah blah. It's physics, because data creation rate is much faster than development in storage technology. For example, I'm just gonna like from a data point of view, dual layer DVDs, awesome, 8 gigabyte capacity, mind blowing technology. Then we went to Blu-rays, single layer 25 gigabyte, awesome. Then we went to quad layer, around 115 gigabytes, awesome. Here's the deal. The gap between the DVD and quad layer Blu-ray is huge. Here's the deal. What is the data creation speed, meaning how quickly you can create 1 terabyte of data? That went from, it's gonna take you like few days to 1 minute. Right now we have cameras that can create that kind of file. You have seen people are using like multi-camera high definition cameras capturing like multiple person. Like how much footage do you think those things create? It's in terabyte per second. Like we are creating data at ludicrously high rate. Like how many photos you are taking and what is the resolution? Because back in the day when my first camera was there, it was 12 megapixel, was like whoa, and it did not have burst rate. Now you can have like 64 megapixel in your mobile phone, and it may even have higher bit depth. So compare that and like the burst rate, all that thing consider, you're like, dude, I'm creating rather than like 1 or 2 gigabyte a month, I'm creating hundreds of gigabyte per month. So that's a very serious real world issue, where it's like our data creation rate is going exponentially faster. Like think of this way, we went from megabyte to gigabyte very quickly, gigabyte to terabyte very quickly, but we have not jumped from terabyte. Think of this way, you can't still practically buy terabyte size SD cards, and terabyte size disk simply does not exist, and hard drives are also stuck in terabytes. They have not moved to petabytes, but we are consuming petabytes. Like think of this, like how much Linus Tech is producing now. It's like their server is like, yeah, 1 server, 2 server, 5 servers, 8 servers. That's how they keep increasing, because like fundamentally data storage technology is just not keeping up. So that's a physical mathematical outcome, that storage will become too expensive. And you can see its early signs in Google. Google was like free unlimited photos and videos at full resolution. Then it slowly became resolution, we're gonna tone down the resolution. Then it slowly become, you know what, only for pixel user. You know what, not even that 15 gigabyte state, and be happy with it. Like think of this, like a company as big as Google did that. And you may be like, okay, isn't that an issue with YouTube? Well, no, because YouTube makes money off of it. So that's why YouTube can be afforded, like more and more server they can afford to pay it. Like for example, if I have uploaded 2 terabytes and let's say YouTube pays me a very little sum, let's say $100, here's the, that simply means YouTube would have made as high as like $200 or even $300, and then there's like, okay, we're gonna give a small amount to him and we're gonna take this big profit there. I mean, they will cut it in half, like 50% in the hardware. So from their point of view, it's like awesome, they can afford it. That's why YouTube can give you like such a large capacity. People try to exploit it, where they're like wedding shooters, they're like set everything to private and just using that as a video carrier, and YouTube is like, nope, blocked it. Like this happened very recently. So you have to understand this whole point. It's a physical reality where data creation rate is too goddamn high, and development of storage tech almost stagnated. Like I still have not reached any point where it's like 1 petabyte storage. And in terms of NVMe developments, all of those developments are scary simply because the more and more compact they're making, more vulnerable it is becoming. It's like quad sector flash memories, they are far more weaker compared to tri-layer and dual layer. It's like, it's really not good idea. It's like the more smaller we make, the weaker the electron gate becomes, and the more likely it is that electron will simply leak out. So that's a serious issue. Like we are at serious risk at this point in time, that we simply do not have a way of handling the data. So you have to understand, this is the reality. We are creating more and more, and we do not have place to put it. So what does this mean? What does this whole video mean? Well, reality is very simple. It should be one of the options. Cloud storage should be one of the options. but it never under any and all circumstances should be the only option. You should, like, if you really value your data and if you're creating boatload of content, I would urge you, try to figure out a way to get into LTO system. And again, if your data capacity, like, huge is not very huge, and like you're only dealing with photos, again, you may look into like MDisk, like how I am doing that. Again, they are expensive, I'm not gonna call it cheap, but again, I can, like, I have stored like my old camera S8100, Nikon S8100, JPEGs only. All of that system has been backed up in one disk, and this disk is like 25 GB, 22 GB readable. So you can do that. Like, again, it has a bigger variant also that goes up to 90 gigabyte. Again, for photo storage, that is more than good enough. For document storage, more than good enough. And again, you can do 2-3 disks, and you can have them double check, verify, and put them in different places. Send one off site. Again, it can be sent through an envelope if you want to do that. So that's why I'm saying, longevity wise, you have to think about it, and you have to think about it now, not after you have lost your data. You really don't want to be in a world that's like, because my credit card faltered for one time and all my data is gone. You really don't want to be there. Or like, oh, I trusted, like, government is never gonna ban Facebook. Government can do weird things. So this was my presentation on myths of the cloud storage. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment, or 3 times. I would urge you to leave a comment, because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.